The laughter echoed through the Great Hall like thunder. 300 alien diplomats from across the galaxy found it hilarious. The humans had just refused to join the frontier expansion wars. Again, for the 10th year in a row, Ambassador David Okonkwo stood at the speaking platform, his dark face calm, his hands folded behind his back. He did not react to the laughter. He had expected it. High Commander Dreth of the Valerian Empire rose from his seat. He was 8 feet tall, covered in thick green scales, with arms like tree trunks. His people had conquered 40 worlds. They respected only strength. "Tell me, human," Dreth said, his voice dripping with contempt, "does your species have any pride at all? Or are you simply born as grass eaters, trembling prey hiding in your little corner of space?" More laughter. The insectoid Sindari clicked their approval. The reptilian Karate hissed with amusement. Even the peaceful Melori shook their heads in disappointment. David waited for the noise to fade. Then he spoke. "The United Earth government respectfully declines participation in military expansion. We will continue our trade agreements. We will continue our scientific exchanges. But we will not send soldiers to fight in your wars. Because you have no soldiers worth sending." Dreth roared. "We have seen your military. Small. Weak. You could not conquer a single moon if you tried." David simply nodded. "Perhaps you were right." This made Dreth angrier. He wanted to fight, an argument, something to prove human weakness. But David gave him nothing. "Cowards," Dreth spat. "That is what you are. Cowards who hide behind treaties and trade deals. When the real powers of this galaxy decide to take what is yours, you will fall in a single day." The assembly murmured agreement. It was well known that humans were the weakest species in the galactic community. They had joined only 15 years ago, and in that time, they had never once shown military strength. They built hospitals. They sent aid ships. They taught farming techniques to struggling colonies. Pathetic. After the session ended, David walked through the curved corridors of Station Viridian. His assistant, a young woman named Priya, hurried beside him. "Sir, why do we let them talk to us like that?" she asked. "We have capabilities they do not know about. We could show them." David stopped walking. He looked out a window at the stars. "Priya, do you know why we do not show them?" "Because it is classified." "No." David's voice became heavy. "Because we are ashamed." Before Priya could ask more, a soft voice spoke from behind them. "Ambassador Okonkwo, a moment of your time." They turned. Counselor Yemisi of the Sindari stood there. She was old, her exoskeleton faded to pale gray, her 4 eyes wise and patient. Unlike the others, she had not laughed. "Counselor," David said with a small bow. "I have watched your species for 15 years, Yemisi said. "You're not stupid. You're not weak in spirit. I have seen your scientists solve problems that baffled our best minds. I have seen your doctors work without sleep to save alien children. You have courage. So why do you refuse to fight?" David was quiet for a long moment. "Because we remember," he finally said, "what happens when we do." Yemisi tilted her head. "What does that mean?" David did not answer. He simply walked away, leaving the old counselor with her questions. That night, the galaxy received terrible news. The Karate Empire, seeking to expand its territory, had invaded a neutral trade station near the border. Station Miravel, a place of commerce and peace, home to merchants from 50 different worlds. The Karate had taken the entire station. They held over 3,000 hostages. Among them were 200 human civilians. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency session. The Karate Emperor, a massive creature named Kroth, appeared on the view screen. His scales were blood red, his eyes yellow and cruel. "The station is ours now," Kroth declared. "Any species that wishes their citizens returned will pay tribute. 1 billion credits per 100 hostages. And territory, we want the Miravel sector recognized as Karate space." Species began negotiating immediately. The Sindari offered payment. The Malori begged for mercy. The Valorians threatened war, but made no move. Then Kroth turned his attention to Earth's delegation. "And what are the humans?" he asked with a cruel smile. "Will the cowards pay, or will they let their people die?" David Okonkwo stood. His face was still calm, but something had changed in his eyes. Something cold. Emperor Croth, David said, I am authorized to deliver the following message from the United Earth government. He paused. Release our people. All 200 of them. You have 6 hours. The assembly went silent. Then Croth burst into laughter. Or what human? What will the grass eaters do? David did not smile. He did not blink. You did not want to find out. Croth laughed harder. The other species shook their heads at human foolishness, making threats with no power to back them up. 3 hours later, Croth broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. He had executed 5 human hostages. As a lesson, your 6 hours mean nothing, Croth sneered. Send your tribute, cowards, or watch more die. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the African mountains, General Rosa Mbeki watched the broadcast. She was 60 years old, her hair gray, her eyes haunted by memories of wars most humans had tried to forget. She turned to her aide. Get me a secure line to the council. 20 minutes later, she had her answer. Rosa closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. May God forgive us, she whispered. Activate the remnants. Emperor Croth ate well that night. He sat in his command chamber on Station Miravel, tearing into fresh meat while his generals reported the news. The Sindari had agreed to pay. The Melori had surrendered their border colonies. Even the proud Valorians were negotiating. Only the humans remained silent. They will pay, Croth said, juice running down his chin. The cowards always pay. They have no choice. His military advisor, a scarred veteran named Gorath, shifted uncomfortably. My emperor, our sensors detected something strange near the station. Strange how? A brief energy signature. Very faint. It disappeared before we could identify it. Croth waved a clawed hand. Space debris. Solar radiation. Do not waste my time with such things. Yes, my emperor. Gorath left, but he could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The humans had seemed so certain, so calm. It was not the behavior of a weak species. Across the galaxy, on Earth, a different kind of preparation was underway. General Rosenbecky stood in a chamber that officially did not exist. It was carved into the rock beneath Mount Kilimanjaro, shielded by technology that made it invisible to every scanner ever invented. Inside the chamber were rows upon rows of pods. Thousands of them. Each one contained a sleeping figure. How long has it been? Rosa asked a doctor. Amara Diallo, the facility's chief scientist, checked her tablet. The oldest have been in stasis for 82 years. The youngest for 45. Rosa walked between the pods, looking at the faces inside. Men and women of every race and background. They looked peaceful in their sleep, but Rosa knew better. These were not peaceful people, they were remnants. Wake Unit 7, Rosa ordered. Amara hesitated. General, are you certain? Once we wake them, we cannot take it back. The galaxy will know. The galaxy took 200 of our people. They killed 5. Rosa's voice was hard. Wake them. The process took 2 hours. 7 pods opened with a hiss of cold air. 7 figures sat up, their eyes adjusting to the light. The first to speak was a woman. She was average height, average build, with short brown hair and forgettable features. She could have been anyone. That was the point. Her name was Sarah. She was Unit 7's commander. She had been born in 2095 and had fought in the worst war humanity had ever seen. How long? Sarah asked. Her voice was rough from decades of sleep. 81 years, Amara said. Sarah nodded slowly. She looked at her hands. They seemed normal, but they were not. Nothing about her was normal anymore. Why did you wake us? Rosa stepped forward. The Karate Empire took a neutral station. They have 200 human hostages. They killed 5 to make a point. Sarah's eyes changed. Something cold and terrible moved behind them. Show me. They brought her to a briefing room. She watched the footage of Croth's broadcast. She saw the 5 humans executed for the entertainment of an alien emperor. The other 6 members of Unit 7 watched with her. None of them showed emotion. They had seen worse. They had done worse. The station's defenses? Sarah asked. 12 warships in orbit. 3,000 soldiers inside. Standard karate military technology. Sarah almost smiled. Almost. Standard, she repeated. She turned to her unit. There was Kwame, their infiltration expert. Yuki, who could kill with any weapon ever made. Daniel, the tech specialist who could crack any system. Fatima, the medic who had saved lives in conditions that would make doctors weep. Obi, the heavy weapons expert. And young Ben, who had been only 19 when they put him in the pod. You all remember what we swore, Sarah said. We swore we would never do this again. Never become what we were. They nodded. But they took our people, Sarah continued. They murdered 5 of them on camera. Not for territory. Not for resources. For entertainment. Silence. I will not order any of you to come. This is a choice. Kwame spoke first. I was made to destroy. I hate what I am. But those are our people. One by one, they all agreed. Rosa watched them prepare. They moved with a precision that was almost beautiful. Every motion practiced. Every tool checked twice. They spoke little because they did not need to. They had trained together, fought together, almost died together. They were the last survivors of a forgotten age. An age when humanity had turned its genius toward death. General, Sarah said when they were ready. How quiet do you want this? Rosa understood the question. The remnants could do this loud. They could turn the station into a graveyard, destroy the ships in orbit, make the karate weep for generations. Or they could do it quiet. Surgical, minimal casualties. A shadow operation that would free the hostages and leave the enemy wondering what had happened. Quiet, Rosa said, but make sure they understand. Sarah nodded. Understood. We will give them nightmares, not graves. The remnants boarded their ship. It was a small vessel, painted black with no markings. Its engines made no sound. Its hull did not reflect light. It was a ghost ship designed to travel through the most heavily guarded space without being detected. They enter hyperspace. Sarah gathered her team. No unnecessary kills, she ordered. We are not what we were. We are better now. We proved that tonight. And if they force our hand, Obi asked, Sarah's eyes went cold. Then we remind them why humanity stopped fighting. Because when we fight, empires fall. The ship slipped through space like a whisper. The karate detected nothing. Their sensors showed empty void. They had no idea that death itself was coming, and it wore a human face. Gorith could not sleep. The military advisor paced his quarters on Station Miravel, unable to shake the unease in his gut. He had fought in 16 wars. He had survived ambushes, betrayals, and battles that should have killed him. His instincts had kept him alive when others died. Those instincts were screaming now that he walked to the security center where dozens of karate soldiers monitored screens showing every corner of the station. The hostages were locked in the cargo bays. The warships orbited in perfect formation. Everything was under control. Any activity? Gorith asked. Nothing, sir. The humans have not even sent a message. Check the outer sensors again. The soldier obeyed, running a full scan. Empty space, sir. No ships within 10 light minutes. Gorith stared at the screen. Empty space. Quiet communications. No response from a species that had threatened them. IT felt wrong at that exact moment. The ghost ship entered Station Miravel Shadow Zone. It matched the station's rotation perfectly, hiding in the blind spot created by the station's own structure. A hatch opened silently, and 7 figures emerged. They wore no armor. No uniforms. Just simple black clothing that seemed to absorb light. They carried no visible weapons. They floated through space using small thrusters built into their suits, moving with an ease that came from decades of training. Sarah led them to an emergency airlock that the station's builders had installed for maintenance. The karate did not know about it. Daniel had found the original blueprints and files that supposedly did not exist anymore. Within 3 minutes, they were inside. The station's corridors were wide, built for karate soldiers who stood 7 feet tall. The remnants moved through them like water, flowing around corners, pausing in shadows, always aware of every camera and every guard. First patrol in 30 seconds, Daniel whispered through their comm system. They pressed against the walls and waited. 2 karate guards walked past, their heavy feet shaking the floor. They were talking about food, complaining about the station supplies. They never saw the shadows behind them. Sarah moved first. Her hand covered the first guard's mouth while her other arm wrapped around his throat. Within seconds, he was unconscious. Kwame handled the second with equal speed. They dragged both guards into a storage room and secured them with restraints that would hold for hours and no deaths. Not yet. They continued through the station, leaving a trail of sleeping guards behind them. Each takedown was clean. Each guard was restrained and hidden. The Karate Security Center saw nothing because Daniel had already begun his work, feeding false images to their cameras. Security Center is blind, Daniel reported. They are watching recordings from an hour ago. Sarah nodded. Kwame, Yuki, start moving toward the cargo bays. The rest of you with me. We take out their communications first. The station was massive, but the remnants had studied its layout during the journey. They knew every corridor, every junction, every weakness. They moved through it like they owned it in the command center. Gorith finally decided to act on his instincts. Send a patrol to check Section 7, he ordered, and contact the warships. I want increased sensor sweeps. Sir, is there a problem? I do not know. That is the problem. The patrol never reported back. Gorith sent another. They also went silent. Sir, we have lost contact with 12 guards in the last 20 minutes. Fear, real fear, began to grow in Gorith's chest. He reached for the station-wide alarm. IT did not work. Communications are down, a technician said, panic in his voice. Internal and external. We cannot reach the ships. Gorith drew his weapon. All soldiers to defensive positions. Something is on this station. But it was already too late. In the cargo bays, Kwame and Yuki reached the hostages. 200 humans sat in the dim light, surrounded by guards. Children cried quietly. Adults held each other. They had watched 5 of their people die and expected to be next. Yuki counted the guards. 15, all armed, all alert. She looked at Kwame. He nodded. They moved the hostages. It looked like magic. One moment, the guards stood at their posts. The next, they were falling, hit by something too fast to see. Yuki's hands and feet were blurs. Kwame appeared behind guards like a ghost, dropping them with precise strikes to pressure points the karate did not even know they had .11 seconds. 15 guards down. None dead, a human woman screamed, then covered her mouth. Please remain calm, Kwame said softly. We are here to take you home. Who are you? A man asked, his voice shaking. Kwame and Yuki exchanged a look. How to explain what they were? What humanity had made them? We are the reason, Yuki finally said, that humans do not fight wars anymore. She began cutting through the restraints. Stay quiet. Stay together. We will guide you to safety. In the command center, chaos had taken hold. Guards were disappearing throughout the station. The warships could not be reached. The lights flickered as someone played with the power grid. Gorith stood in the middle of the madness, trying to organize a defense against an enemy he could not see. Then the main screen changed. A face appeared. Human. Female. Utterly calm. Emperor Croth, Sarah said. You have 3 minutes to surrender. This is not a negotiation. Gorith stared at the screen. How did you get inside? We detected nothing. You detected what we wanted you to detect. Sarah's voice was flat. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. We have 3,000 soldiers. You had 3,000 soldiers. Now you have about 2,000 who are awake and approximately 800 who can still hold a weapon. Gorith felt his blood turn cold. That was impossible. No force could do that much damage in complete silence. What are you? He whispered. Sarah did not smile. We are what humanity became when we stopped holding back. We're the monsters they put to sleep so they could become gardeners. We are remnants. 2 minutes. Bring your emperor. He will want to hear my terms. Emperor Croth refused to believe it, but he stood in the command center, surrounded by his elite guards, watching the impossible unfold on the screens. His soldiers were falling throughout the station. Not dying, but falling. Something was moving through his forces like wind through grass. Destroy them, he roared. Find them and kill them. His guards charged into the corridors with weapons raised. They were the best the karate empire had produced. Veterans of 100 battles. Killers who had never known defeat. They lasted less than a minute. Sarah met them at a corridor junction. She did not fight like the aliens expected. She did not charge or threaten or give them time to react. She simply moved. Her first strike disabled the lead guard's weapon arm. Her second took out his knee. The third dropped him unconscious before he hit the floor. She flowed through the group like a dancer, every motion precise, every strike landing exactly where it needed to. Obi covered her flank, his massive frame somehow just as quiet and deadly. Ben guarded their rear, dropping any guard who tried to circle around. .12 elite soldiers fell in 43 seconds. Croth watched on the screen, his yellow eyes wide. "Were these things?" he whispered. "They move wrong. They fight wrong. They are not natural." Gorith stood beside him, his scales pale with fear. "My Emperor, perhaps we should negotiate." "Negotiate?" Croth spun on him. "I am the Emperor. I do not negotiate with prey." The screen flickered. Sarah's face appeared again. "1 minute," she said. "You have killed 5 of our people. I am offering you mercy you do not deserve. Surrender now. Release all hostages, and you will live." "You dare threaten me?" Croth screamed. "I will burn your planet. I will enslave your species. I will." 45 seconds. Croth raised his weapon and fired at the screen. It exploded in sparks. He turned to his remaining guards. "Kill everything that moves. Find these humans and bring me their heads." The station descended into chaos. Karate soldiers ran through corridors, firing at shadows. Some shot each other in the confusion. Others found themselves face to face with remnants who appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as fast. Daniel had taken control of the station systems. Doors opened and closed at his command. Lights went on and off. He herded groups of soldiers into dead ends where Kwame and Yuki waited. It was not a battle. It was a lesson. In the Galactic Assembly Hall, far across the galaxy, diplomats watched the chaos unfold. Someone had hacked into the karate broadcast system and was showing everything. High Commander Dreth of the Valorian stood frozen, his scales rigid with shock. "This is not possible," he said. 7 soldiers against 3,000. Counselor Yemisi watched with ancient eyes. "You called them cowards, Commander. You said they were prey." On the screen, a single human woman walked through a corridor of fallen karate guards. She did not hurry. She did not need to. "That is not a coward," Yemisi said softly. "That is a nightmare choosing to be gentle." Back on the station, Sarah reached the command center. The doors were sealed, reinforced with the strongest metal the karate could forge. She knocked politely. "Emperor Croth," she called. "Your time is up." Inside, Croth huddled behind his throne, surrounded by his last 20 guards. His confidence had shattered completely. He had seen his finest warriors fall like children. He had watched an empire's military crumble before 7 humans. "Hold the doors," he ordered. "They cannot get through." The doors did not open. Instead, the ceiling panel above them dropped. Sarah fell through it, landing in a crouch. Before the guards could react, the rest of her team followed. The last battle took 70 seconds. When it ended, Croth stood alone, his weapon knocked from his hand, his guards scattered unconscious around him. Sarah stood before him, close enough to touch. "You killed 5 of our people," she said. Her voice was calm, but something terrible burned beneath it. Croth fell to his knees. "Please, I will give you anything. Territory, wealth, whatever you want." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Her hand twitched toward the knife at her belt. Every instinct she had, every dark impulse that had been engineered into her blood, screamed at her to end this creature who had murdered innocent people for entertainment. Instead, she stepped back. "I want you to live," she said. Croth blinked in confusion. "I want you to go back to your empire and tell them what happened here. Tell them that 7 humans walked through your army like it was not there. Tell them that we could have killed everyone on this station, but we chose not to. Tell them that humanity does not fight wars, because when we do, we win. And the winning breaks something inside us that we can never repair." She leaned closer. "We are not cowards, Emperor. We are recovering monsters. And if anyone ever touches our people again, we will not send 7 soldiers." She straightened. We will send all of them. Croth began to shake. Real terror, deeper than anything he had ever known, took hold of his heart. The hostages are being evacuated, Sarah continued. Your soldiers will wake in a few hours with headaches. Your warships are disabled, but not destroyed. Consider this mercy. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The 5 humans you killed. They had families, children, people who loved them. Her voice dropped to a whisper. If I ever see you again, Emperor, I will not be so kind. She walked away, leaving the most powerful ruler in the Karate Empire weeping on the floor of his own command center. The mission was complete. 4 hours and 22 minutes. All hostages rescued. 0 human casualties. And a lesson the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Assembly had never been so quiet. 300 diplomats sat in stunned silence, staring at the empty speaking platform. The footage from Station Miravel had spread across every network in known space. Every species had seen it. 7 humans defeating an army. A nightmare in human form, showing mercy to those who deserve none. Ambassador David Okonkwo walked slowly to the platform. He looked tired, older somehow. This was not a moment he had wanted, but it was a moment that had become necessary. You have questions, he said simply. The room exploded. Everyone tried to speak at once. Accusations, demands, fears all mixed together into a roar of confused noise. David waited, patient as stone, until Counselor Yemisi raised her hand for silence. Ambassador, she said when the room finally calmed, I believe you owe us an explanation. What do we witness? What are those soldiers? What is humanity truly? David nodded. You are right. The time for secrets has passed. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above the assembly. Images that humanity had kept hidden for over a century. What I am about to show you is our greatest shame. The first image was Earth. Beautiful blue, alive with cities that sparkled in the night. The year was 2089. This was our world at its peak, David said. 12 billion people. Advances in science and medicine that were solving problems we had faced for thousands of years. We thought we were becoming gods. The image changed. Fire. Mushroom clouds. Cities turned to ash. Bodies beyond counting. Then came the century of fire. The assembly watched in horror as image after image showed destruction on a scale that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. Continents burned. Oceans boiled in places. Clouds of poison spread across the sky. We went to war with ourselves, David explained. Not over territory or resources or religion. We went to war because we could. Because our technology had outpaced our wisdom. Because we had become so good at killing that we forgot why we should not. He showed them the weapons. Planet crackers that could shatter moons. Biological agents designed to target specific genetic markers. Artificial intelligences that calculated the most efficient paths to extinction. And we created the remnants. An image of a laboratory appeared. Rows of pods containing sleeping figures. We took our best soldiers and made them better. Faster reflexes. Enhanced strength. Minds that could process combat in ways no normal human could match. We turned them into perfect warriors. They were monsters, David said, his voice heavy with old grief. Not because of what we made them, but because of what we told them to do. They fought in battles that killed millions. They won victories that cost us our souls. The assembly was silent now. No one could look away from the images of devastation. By the time the century of fire ended, our population had fallen from 12 billion to 800 million. We had nearly destroyed ourselves completely. The image changed again. A group of people standing in the ruins of a great city. Survivors, broken and haunted, but somehow still alive. The survivors made a choice. We would never let this happen again. We dismantled our weapons. We buried our technology of destruction. And we put the remnants to sleep. But you kept them, Counselor Yemisi said. Yes. David's voice was barely above a whisper. We kept them, not because we wanted to, but because we were afraid. Afraid that someday, something would force us to become monsters again. He turned off the display. When Emperor Croft took our people, we had a choice. We could have paid the tribute. We could have let the deaths of 5 innocents go unpunished. We could have remained the cowards you thought we were. His eyes swept across the assembly. We chose to wake the nightmares instead. And now you know why we do not fight wars. High Commander Dreth stood slowly. The great Valerian warrior, who had mocked humanity for a decade, looked shaken to his core. You could have destroyed the karate fleet, he said. You could have killed everyone on that station. You could have ended their empire in a single night. Yes. Why did you not? David looked at him with eyes that had seen too much history. Because we remember what happens when we stop holding back. We remember the cities we burned, the innocent people we killed, the friends we lost to our own madness. He stepped closer to the Valerian. You called us cowards because we would not fight your wars. But we do not refuse because we are afraid of you. We refuse because we are afraid of ourselves. He turned back to the full assembly. Humanity is not weak. We are recovering. Every day that we choose peace over war, every time we build instead of destroy, we take one more step away from what we were. That is not cowardice. That is the hardest battle we have ever fought. The silence stretched on. Then, slowly, Dreth did something no one expected. He bowed. Not a small nod of respect, but a full bow, the kind Valorians reserved for warriors of the highest honor. I was wrong, he said simply. You are not prey. You are predators who chose to become something better. That takes more courage than any war. One by one, other diplomats stood and bowed as well. The Sindari, the Melori, even the karate ambassador, who had been quiet since the broadcast, lowered his head in acknowledgement. David watched them, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. We do not want fear, he said. We want partnership. Help us stay the gardeners we're trying to become. And we will help you grow beyond what you thought possible. Counselor Yemisi spoke into the silence. And if someone threatens your people again, David's expression did not change. Then we will do what we must. But we will hate every moment of it. And we will spend the rest of our lives trying to heal from it. That is the burden humanity carries. That is what it means to be us. He stepped down from the platform. We're not proud of what we can do. We are proud of what we choose not to do. 1 year later, the galaxy had changed. Sarah stood in the cold chamber beneath Mount Kilimanjaro, looking at the pod that waited for her. She had been awake for 12 months now, longer than any remnant had stayed awake since the century of fire ended. It was time to sleep again. General Rosa Mbeki stood beside her. The older woman had aged in the past year, the weight of responsibility showing in new lines on her face. Are you ready? Rosa asked. Sarah touched the edge of the pod. I've been ready since the moment I woke up. This world, this new humanity, it is beautiful. But I do not belong in it. You saved 200 people. You changed how the galaxy sees us. I also reminded everyone what we can become. Sarah's voice was quiet. Every time a child looks at me, I see fear in their eyes. They know what I am. They can sense it. Rosa did not argue. She had seen it too. We recorded a message, Sarah said. All 7 of us. For the archives. In case someone needs to wake us again. She pulled out a small device and handed it to Rosa. Play it. At the memorial. Let people understand. Rosa took the device carefully. I will. Sarah climbed into the pod. The cold embrace of the cryogel surrounded her. Just before the lid closed, she spoke one last time. I was made to destroy. I choose to sleep instead. That is not cowardice. That is the hardest war I have ever fought. The pod sealed. The displays showed her vital signs dropping as stasis took hold. Another monster put to rest. Another nightmare choosing to dream instead of kill. Rosa wiped her eyes and walked away. Across the galaxy, Ambassador David Okonkwo stood at a memorial on Earth's largest space station. Behind him rose a simple stone monument with 5 names carved into its surface. The humans who had died on Station Miravel. The ones who could not be saved. Before him stood thousands of people. Humans and aliens alike. The Valorians had sent a delegation. The Sindari had come in person. Even a young karate diplomat stood in the crowd, sent by a reformed government that had risen from the ashes of Krotha's empire. The old emperor was gone. His own people had turned against him when they learned the full truth. Not because they feared humanity, but because they were ashamed of what had been done in their name. David began to speak. 1 year ago, the galaxy called us cowards. They laughed at us for refusing to fight their wars. They thought our peace was weakness. He looked out at the crowd. They were wrong, but so were we. Murmurs rippled through the audience. We were wrong to hide our history, wrong to pretend we were something less than what we are. The truth, no matter how painful, deserves to be known. He activated a holographic display. Sarah's face appeared, speaking from the recording she had made. I was born in a time of fire, Sarah's image said. I was created to end lives, not save them. For decades, I did terrible things. I won battles that should never have been fought. I survived when better people died. The crowd watched in silence. When they put me to sleep, I was grateful. I thought I would never have to wake up. I thought I could finally stop being a weapon and just be nothing. Sarah's recorded eyes looked directly into the camera. Then they called me back, and I had a choice. I could have refused. I could have stayed in my sleep and let others handle the problem. No one would have blamed me, but our people were in danger. Innocent people who had never hurt anyone. And I realized that being a monster is not about what you can do. It is about what you choose to do. The recording paused on her face. I chose to save them, not because I wanted to fight, but because no one else could. And when it was over, I chose to show mercy. Not because the enemy deserved it, but because I needed to prove to myself that I was more than what they made me. The image faded. David stepped forward again. The remnants are sleeping now. All of them. They asked to go back to their pods, to return to their dreams, because they know that the galaxy does not need warriors anymore. It needs gardeners. He gestured to the memorial behind him. We honor the 5 we lost. We remember their names. But we also honor the 7 who saved the rest. Not as heroes, but as people who fought against their own nature to do something good. He looked at the young karate diplomat in the crowd. To our friends across the stars, I make this promise. We will never seek war. We will never expand through conquest. We will build hospitals, not weapons. We will send teachers, not soldiers. His voice grew stronger. But we will also never abandon our people. We will never let innocents suffer because we were too afraid to act. If darkness comes, if someone threatens those who cannot defend themselves, we will stand in the gap. We will do it with sorrow, not joy, with restraint, not rage. And when it is done, we will put down our weapons and return to planting seeds. He spread his arms wide. We are humanity. We have been monsters and saints, destroyers and creators. We carry the memory of fire in our blood and the hope of gardens in our hearts. We are not proud of what we can do. We are proud of what we choose not to do. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, they began to applaud. Not the thunderous ovation of a military victory, but something quieter, something like understanding. The young karate diplomat approached after the ceremony ended. "Ambassador," she said softly, "what if someone forces you to wake them again? The sleepers?" David looked at her with tired, kind eyes. "Then we will mourn, and we will end it quickly, and we will hate every moment, because that is what it means to be human." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "We are not the monsters in the darkness. We are the gardeners who remember what the darkness felt like. And we will spend every day trying to grow something beautiful enough to make the darkness worth surviving." He walked away, leaving the young karate staring at the memorial point, 5 names on stone. 7 warriors sleeping in the cold. In a species that had burned itself almost to extinction, learning, slowly, how to become something better. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons. Not warriors. Not conquest. Just the stubborn, painful, beautiful hope that even monsters could learn to plant flowers.